Are we going by our first names?
Yeah, might as well.
Okay, so I'm Rachel.
And I am Jessica, aka Jess, Jehovah. Yeah, you can call me Jess.
Many nicknames. So we just had a 5-minute conversation about what we were going to call ourselves. Two drugged girls.
I mean, it works for me. We're
Yeah.
both pretty drugged up.
We are pretty drugged up, but legally, prescription-wise, yeah.
And we're not abusing those prescriptions.
No. Although I have struggled to, take it on time every day, but
Do you set an alarm on your phone?
I don't. I should.
Do it.
It's because that's the thing. I stopped taking birth control because I couldn't remember to take pills at the same time every day.
Oh.
I know. And
Taking pills at the same time every day is my life.
It's hard.
It
And
is.
I take multivitamins, and I take the fun ones, like the chewy ones.
Of course you do.
Yeah. So, and I have a pretty, set schedule. So I still struggle.
Honest to God, how many pills do I take a day? 1, 2, 3, 4. At least 4.
Yeah.
Morning and night.
Yeah.
And I live by alarms. My phone is constantly going off. To the point that, my mother, who doesn't know technology, hears my cell phone. She's like, oh, it's time for your meds. Thanks, Ma.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I take a stupid amount of multivitamins because I live in, Canada, and we don't get a lot of sun.
We don't see the light of day.
Or anything. We don't have, we do have seasons. We don't have, beautiful fruit all the time. So I take a multivitamin. I take a half dose of prenatal. I then take a hair, nails, and skin vitamin, which is basically vitamin C, E, and biotin. And then I take a huge dose of B12 once a week.
For your multivitamin, do you, buy into the whole for women thing?
Well, okay, so I take a generic because
Okay.
it's a lot cheaper. And this one, the for women's typically usually because it has selenium, so I take one with selenium.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what do we need selenium for?
For antioxidants.
Okay.
Empowering cytochrome P450 and all those.
Oh my God, you're taking me way back through bio. Okay. So if I take multivitamins, I should take a for woman one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you won't die.
Okay.
But if you take a regular one, but for women.
Am I going to grow another appendage if
No.
I take it for men?
There's no hormones or anything
good.
like that. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so our first show.
Sorry.
That's okay. We're gonna talk about being a woman because we're both women. We identify as women.
I'm not a girl. Not yet a woman. No, I'm totally a woman.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see how it goes. So the first thing, the way we're going to kind of structure this is that we'll have a couple topics that we'll talk about just casually, randomly, things that are on our minds. And then we'll have a couple references to articles and things that we've read, studies, to kind of get into the sciencey part of why we're here. Because we also have science degrees.
We do.
Yeah.
She has more than I do. However, I did a Bachelor of Science in Biology with a minor in Psych. Mm-hmm. And then I went to Teachers College, so I mean, I can explain things to people sometimes.
That's a gift. That's a gift that not a lot of people have.
I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And you, I mean, you're genius.
No. I just play at being one.
You do it well.
Yeah. I have an undergrad in biomedical science and a minor in music because I needed a break.
Honest.
And then I didn't know what I wanted to do. A lot of my peers went to med school, and that just wasn't for me. So I then got another undergrad in food science and nutrition and had a blast doing that and tried my hand at doing research for a little bit. I worked for the government and saw that side of things. And then realized research wasn't for me. So I'm just really indecisive. But I'm now doing my master's in human nutrition and all my credentialing to be a registered dietitian. So
hey, yo.
I know, I'm halfway done, more than halfway done.
Yeah.
So I'm trekking on.
She's trekking on. And let me tell you guys, she has such a passion for food and... Oh my God, this girl blows my mind with what she knows about food. You ask for a recipe and she's like, but oh my God, you can substitute this for this because this acts as this. Girl knows her shit.
Well, I've spent a lot of years being a vegetarian and being in and out of veganism. So I just sort of, you have to come up with creative ways to eat because you can't eat anything.
Not where we live.
No, you can't eat anything. So So yeah, that's a little bit of background about us. So let's dive into the first thing.
Cool.
So I read a really interesting article from The Atlantic, and it's a little bit older. It's from September, October of 2017. But this article was called "The Growing Partisan Divide Over Feminism" by a gentleman called Peter Beinart. And it essentially, the tagline or the subtitle of this article was, "Democratic men are 31 points more likely to say that the country has not gone far enough on women's rights than Republican women."
Damn.
Yeah. So the gist of this was mostly that, the views of Democratic men seem to be more in line with feminism than those of Republican women. And this kind of sort of paradigm, or this thing that's happening, really is pushing politics and partisanship right now in the States. And I mean, I'll tell you right now, I don't know a lot about American politics.
Oh my God, I know nada.
I know that there's an asshole in the White House.
The Cheeto.
Yeah, the Cheeto. Especially when you compare him to someone like Justin Trudeau, which...
Polar opposites.
Yeah, he's our prime minister in Canada. You can have opposite views, because he's the leader of the Liberal Party, and so you can have opposite views, of course, but he identifies as a feminist. He is...
Major supporter of Aboriginal and Indigenous peoples.
Yeah. He's an incredible young person, and it's something that we definitely needed, I think, as Canadians after we had our previous prime minister as leader of the Conservative Party.
Very conservative.
Very conservative. So we're talking out of our ass a little bit because we don't know a lot about American politics. But I want to talk a little bit about this article. So essentially, the whole thing was that it's not necessarily gender dividing votership between the two parties, it's feminism. And this article goes on to describe feminism as the belief in the existence of societal discrimination against women and the need for greater female political power. So there was a study that was done by two people at Stony Brook University, Leonie Huddy, sorry if I'm not pronouncing their names right, and Johanna Willman. And they found that feminism correlated with support for the Democratic Party. Does that make sense to you?
It wouldn't be my first thought necessarily. From just what I know about Democrats, I don't know. I guess I'm pretty biased. I really reject the Republican ideals, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that being, I take the Republicans to be super Christian and old school and really forcing that down people's throats, whereas the Democrats, in my opinion, seem to be more liberal. So in a sense, I guess it kind of makes sense, but the stats about Democratic men being more in line, I guess, with the whole feminist ideal surprises me a lot.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it doesn't surprise me at all, I think, because I want to believe that Republicans themselves aren't bad people. Right? That they just sort of, they have opposing views.
They believe what they believe.
They believe what they believe. They don't staunchly believe in, ideals of socialism. But it seems like the members of the GOP are these actors in this horrible play about how not to be a good human. So, it baffles me that, this article referred to I think it was prelim voting for Roy Moore.
Okay.
And, the numbers of Republican women who went out and voted for him, even after all the allegations of proven pedophilia.
Yeah.
It baffles my mind.
That as a woman, how could you then go out and support that?
How could you go and support that man?
As a woman, I couldn't.
Yeah.
I think not even as a woman, as a human being, I couldn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially, I mean, any kind of crime against any sort of, not necessarily even minor, but any vulnerable person, in my mind, is just despicable.
Yeah.
But the fact that it was children is
You would expect the women to have that visceral reaction that you're having.
Right? That could have been your own child that came from your womb.
Yeah.
And you're going out there and saying, yes, I want him as a representative.
Yeah.
For what I believe.
It doesn't make sense to me. There's something at play, and this article touches on the fact that it's not necessarily an issue of gender identity and more of gender attitude. So they had a really interesting quote that said that a sizable minority of American women do not believe in the existence of gender discrimination, think that women who charge men with gender discrimination are troublemakers, and are inclined to side with a man accused of discriminatory behavior. Yeah.
I'm sorry, what? No.
So they don't believe it exists. Okay, that's your belief. If that's not your reality, this is the thing. If it's not your reality, that's perfectly fair. But it's other people's reality. And to discount other people's reality because it's not your own is like so fucking myopic. Like, it really is.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I would never, it's that sort of age-old issue of like, okay, if I've said something that hurt you, but I didn't mean for it to hurt you.
It still hurt me.
It still hurts, and I should apologize.
Right.
You know, it doesn't discount everything that I've, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't discount what I just said.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I believe that. I believe that women think that way, and it shows also in the way that they voted for, you know, Donald Trump as opposed to Hillary Clinton, right?
Yes.
It was like, I mean, that whole issue, we have lots to say about that, I'm sure, but and I won't go into it, but, you know, the fact that they had to compare, you know, a woman who has this incredible political career, who's like far more qualified to run in that race compared to everybody who ran.
Right.
And yet, you know, her secretive emails, what's in the emails was such a huge issue compared to, you know what I mean? And that her career is being compared to this man who was a reality star and a failed businessman. Like, I don't get it. He's an asshole.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And he, not to say that Hillary Clinton doesn't live in another reality, because, I mean, her life has been her life. Look at living with Bill and being the first lady and all this and that. But Trump's reality is so far removed from the everyday American and the everyday Canadian. There's no possible way for him to understand what their lives are like.
Yeah.
And so
how can you advocate?
For them? There's just so much.
Yeah. Well, okay, so they kind of reference, or they do reference this researcher at Stanford who cited Simone de Beauvoir.
Okay.
Who was a staunchly feminist female writer.
Yeah.
You know, in sort of the early mid 20th century. But her argument was that women are more likely than other oppressed groups to defend the hierarchies that subjugate them. Women have no religion of their own, and they have no such solidarity of work and interest as that of the proletariat. They live dispersed among the males, attached through residence, housework, economic condition, and social standing to certain men, fathers or husbands, more firmly than they are to other women.
So true.
So true, and I think that's still true.
Yes, and I mean, we have made advances, and women are more independent and can make their own names for themselves, but, you know, that's...
When your reality is, you know, that your politics become your husband's politics, because, I mean, let's face it, it's like when you create a nuclear family, your husband or your partner is the person the adult who you see the most.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can create sort of these values as a system and as a family unit. And sometimes what happens is that you adopt or develop their sentiments, their, you know, political leanings, whatever. And that's unfortunate for women who have differing feelings and they're unable to, or feel like they can't express those feelings, especially because when you look at something that's so polarizing, like, you know, Republicans versus Democrats, it's like you really couldn't get any more opposite. There's no... It's especially
there's like no overlap.
Yeah.
Right? You are polar opposites. Whereas I find here in Canada, we have so many different political parties, and while they all do have major differences, there's a lot of overlap about what they do believe in terms of, you know, NDP and Liberal versus... Anyway. I forget what I was saying.
That's okay.
First podcast.
Woo! But yeah, I mean, I just think that's an interesting quote because it was very much true in the 50s, and it's still unfortunately very much true now, even though we're living in an age of technology where we can communicate with anybody we want to. We can, I belong to a women's group on Facebook, and even just, being able to hear different opinions and different viewpoints. I tend to see that a lot. A lot of the women, talk about how some of their husbands are really firmly Republican, and, it either drives them to either affiliate with that party or they don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Or they don't vote.
That's really sad.
How sad is that?
The not voting part
Yeah.
is really sad. Not talking about it, okay, you agree to disagree. It's just not something you share with one another. I think you can learn to live with that, but to not vote and to not feel like women work so hard to get the vote.
Yeah.
And then to feel like you still can't.
Yeah.
That's just very sad.
So, on a side note, I recently watched the latest Celebrity Big Brother, not the American.
Oh boy, okay.
The UK. And they had really interesting conversations about feminism, because this year's theme was Year of the Woman.
Okay.
So they had 8 women starting out in the house for the first 3 days. It was just women, and then the men came in 3 days later.
Interesting.
Yeah. They had Malika.
Okay.
From Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
No way.
Yeah, I
in the
think she
UK?
was great. Yeah. Well, they have Americans. They usually have like 2 to 3 Americans come abroad. Like they've had like Heidi and Spencer.
Okay.
Perez Hilton, that kind of thing. Yeah. So, because it's been going on for like 20 plus seasons.
Okay.
But so they had a woman who was an MP in the UK, and for her, I think it was just under 25-year career history, she has voted against every piece of LGBTQ plus legislation, as well as women's reproductive rights.
Oh my
legislation.
Goodness.
Yeah. So she's staunchly conservative. And the fact that she even did Big Brother, I think, was really interesting. But when the men came, I don't know if do you watch RuPaul's Drag Race?
I have watched it, not religiously, and I have not seen all episodes.
Okay. So one of the queens, Courtney Act,
Yes.
is incredible.
Okay.
She's young, but she's also really articulate. I mean, she's young. She's like 35 or something. 36.
That's still young.
She's young. But she's just really articulate and really willing to have conversations. And while everybody else in the house was afraid to have a conversation with this MP, Courtney was like,
let's put it out there.
Yep. She was like, I want to know, why do you think this way? How did you feel this way? And both people really stuck to their guns about their beliefs and, their sort of viewpoints. And it ended up being the two of them in the top 2. And thank fuck Courtney won. Because it was such a political move or a statement that, people were supporting, because it's a public vote, that people were supporting Courtney because the alternative was this woman who didn't believe that, gay people should get married. Yeah. And when people asked, is it just that you made those moves or voted against those pieces of legislation because of your career? She was like, no, I don't believe in it. Wow. Yeah, like she was, and she wasn't cruel, but
she was very firm.
She was super firm in her beliefs.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was really polarizing. The whole season, fantastic. It's on YouTube if you want to watch it.
Good to know, good to know.
Okay.
Side note, can I interject here?
Yeah.
So, like, you 100% consider yourself a feminist.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Whereas, like, I would not say I'm necessarily a feminist.
Okay. Why?
I don't know if it's because it seems like it's so, I don't want to say like a polarizing idea, but like a
all or nothing.
Am I for equality between genders? 100%, but it's not rah women. It's more just, we're all human beings here, people.
Yeah. But that's the thing, is that's literally what feminism is. Equalization of the sexes. Yeah. And, there's this idea that feminism is like this nasty word or this bad word that like, oh God, if she's or he is a feminist, they're fucking crazy, and that they believe that like, women, not even just that women are superior, but that, women deserve extra things in order to become equal, or that they're, a little bit crazy in their beliefs. I had those feelings, and then believe it or not, it actually took dating a feminist who was very, very much a feminist and talked about how he was a feminist. It took me dating him and learning more about him and his beliefs that turned me into a feminist, because I was like, I don't fucking identify as any of that bullshit.
See, I feel like I would just call it like humanism.
No, but see, you know what? I think that argument is akin to the whole Black lives don't matter, all lives matter.
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because it's like, sure, yes, humans matter, you know, equalization between all humans, absolutely.
I get what you're saying now.
But the problem is that for so long, women as a gender have been oppressed.
Yeah.
And so it's important to, you know, identify as somebody who wants opportunity for everybody. And that, to me, is what feminism means. And sure, there are people who are, you know, so far on the spectrum that they will do crazy things, but those that exists for everybody.
Right.
You know what I mean?
There's a radical in every idea.
Exactly. And so I don't think it's fair to identify a feminist as someone who's that radical. I think that those are just radical feminists. And I totally think that it's not a bad word, and that I believe everybody should be a feminist. I will raise feminist children.
Right.
You know, there was a whole debate about whether or not kids, like babies, should have feminist written on their like t-shirts or their onesies.
Their little onesies.
Yeah, and I was like, fuck yeah. like my kids
Why
are totally,
the hell not?
Exactly. And the argument, I guess, was that, you know, why would you want to force your political views on your children when they haven't made that decision themselves? Because they have, you know, okay, they don't have the autonomy right now, but they have agency. And so do you want to take that away from them by, you know, identifying them from the beginning?
Right.
Which I totally understand. But I think when it's something as important as equal rights, I think it's not it's a way of life. It's not just an identity. You know what I mean? I'm not, you know, signing them up to be politically affiliated. I'm signing them up to be, you know, a good human.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I guess I'll call myself a feminist from now on then.
I've convinced another.
You've convinced me. I had the same ideas, just putting that label on it seemed
scary, and I get that.
Yeah.
But it isn't scary.
Rah,
should be proud.
rah, women.
Yeah.
Okay. Shake your tots.
I wish I had them.
Oh god.
Okay, so our next topic, we're going to talk about wearing makeup.
Okay, this is going to be interesting because
Why?
You don't wear makeup.
No, I don't.
But apparently, as you have told me many times, you're obsessed with makeup tutorials.
I'm obsessed with makeup tutorials for so many reasons. I watch them on YouTube. I find them incredibly soothing. I think, here's the thing. I think makeup itself is incredible. I think people are beautiful, but people can become so much more beautiful or look any which way that they want with makeup, and I think that's so cool.
It's an art form.
It's totally an art form.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's why I suck at art.
Yeah.
I don't really invest much in my makeup. I just kind of cover up my little acne blemishes there and slap a little mascara on once in a while.
Good to go.
Yeah, that's how I roll.
See, and I go through periods, it's funny, I go through periods where I'll buy a whole bunch of makeup, and I'll usually get my little sister to come with me.
Oh,
and
shout out to Willow.
Yeah. And she'll take me to, you know, Sephora or a drugstore even, because I'm too fucking cheap, and go buy a whole bunch of makeup that I'm never going to wear, because I try it on for the first couple days, and I'm like, okay, I like this. This is fine. This makes me look cool. This makes me look cute.
Yeah.
And then I can't keep it up.
Yeah.
Because the thought of waking up an extra however many minutes early.
It's not only monetary investment, it is investment of time.
Oh,
and
yeah.
let me tell you, when you are living this student life that this girl is currently living, commuting 2 hours at least to another city to attend this school, she ain't got time for that.
No. And seeing other people with the amount of makeup that they have, like, I can't with the clutter.
No, it's too much.
Yeah, when they have a zillion products for one thing, and then they organize it by, like, things that you're supposed to have, you know?
There are steps to the process.
And I just can't keep up with all of that. Like, and so it's like I'll buy a mascara, and then, you know how mascaras get a little funky after a while? It's like then my mascaras get funky, and I gotta buy a new one. And so I go, like, I went to a wedding this summer. I had 2 weddings this summer. And so I bought makeup for those. But then I'm sure it's going to be real funky by the, weddings I have to
it
go to
probably
this
will
year.
be.
So I have to buy more makeup.
So sorry to hear that.
Yeah. What about you?
Let's see. When I was in school, I was a little bit better about makeup. Because of my current employment situation, I am currently nannying a 3-year-old who is my adorable little niece, Ava. I don't really see anyone. I also live in like a little boony town outside of like a bigger city.
Yeah.
And I don't really know anyone there.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like I have to like hide my acne and stuff because like I don't know anyone.
Yeah.
I don't care what they think.
Yeah.
But I see myself, if I were living in the city, being a little more doing a little more to maintain and upkeep. But mostly like I'm super quick. Like I can slap it on in literally probably under a minute and a half. I can be totally done my makeup routine in the morning. Like I literally slap on some primer, slap on my foundation, occasionally throw a few little wisps of blush and my mascara, and I'm out the door.
Yeah.
Like I'm quick tings guy.
See, my thing is like I'm nervous if I ever put makeup on, which I do sometimes, is that I'm not good at it, so I don't want to look like a fool.
But I mean, like when it's something as simple as just foundation, like
I've never put anything on my skin. So my experience with makeup is eyeliner and mascara, and I used to put on blush when I was in high school, which is so weird.
Oh my god, that's the easiest routine
That's
ever.
it. That's
amazing.
So I don't put anything on my face, but I have things to hide on my face. I just the process of like putting it on, and then my thing is I also don't want to get trapped. Where I feel like, oh wow, I look great with makeup on.
I have to wear it now.
I have to wear it.
I know.
Because we have a friend who has talked about how she wears makeup.
Okay.
Because she has skin issues, and how I'll tell you after this. She's looking at me like,
who is this friend of ours?
But she is in a management position at work.
Okay.
And she says she feels like she isn't going to be taken seriously if she doesn't wear makeup.
Oh, that's so tough.
And that is super tough. And I'm starting my professional career next year.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of faced with that. It's like, do I wear makeup because do I want to be taken a little bit more seriously and look a little bit more adult and put together? Or does makeup not fucking matter? Because really it doesn't.
It shouldn't matter, but does it?
Yeah.
I think it does in this day and age.
But men
sadly,
are forced to wear makeup.
Men are not forced to wear makeup.
No.
And how do men end up having flawless skin? Please tell me.
It's because they never touch it.
Side note.
Yeah.
The beards.
Yeah.
They cover any kind of like
That's true.
acne there. I swear it's a ploy. It's a ploy. And a good beard will get me.
Yeah.
And I know a good beard will get you, girl.
I love the beards.
She loves them.
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't know. I want to not wear makeup, but I'm too self-conscious because my acne is like bleh.
It's not bad.
But like when you have little kids being like, "Oh, you
Yeah,
have
but
more
they're brutal.
You have bubbles on your face, Auntie. Does it hurt?" I'm like,
Oh.
"Yeah, it's red and inflamed and it hurts. Thanks for noticing. Let's go swimming now."
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know. I think, and the other thing too, your mom was super into makeup.
Yeah. She's a glamazon.
She's a glamazon.
Yeah.
And my mom, not necessarily glamazon, but like I distinctly recall the Mary Kay pink car.
Yeah.
And like the pink compact. I swear my mom used the same compact forever. She would just buy the little refills.
Yeah.
But like she always had makeup. She worked in retail. She was working in jewelry, especially fine jewelry. So she's like having to sell and she needs to look the part and, you know, convince people to buy these diamonds. And so I think had my mother, like, let's say your children, if you don't wear makeup, do you think your kids are going to?
No.
Probably not.
Yeah, they won't value it if I don't value it.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think the fact that I grew up with my mother needing and valuing the makeup probably had a little impact on me. Plus, like, in high school, we all went through our emo phases.
I wore makeup in high school.
I wore dark, you know, eyeliner and had strange colors in my hair at some points. My best friends, too. Like, it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
So I think it can be fun and experimenting is fun. I don't have the money to just play around and like buy endless amounts of makeup.
Yeah.
Have I ever set foot into a Sephora or hell no, I go to Shoppers Drug Mart, thank you very much.
Plus, they lure you in and they make you buy all these products, and they make you feel like shit because they're like, "Oh, and you need this,"
Right?
And you're like, "Oh, thanks."
Jeez, the world we live in,
Yeah,
eh?
seriously, it's an expensive habit. I'm not about it. Maybe I'll be convinced, but for now, I just get my jollies off by watching YouTube.
There you go.
Okay, so our next topic is periods.
Okay. So I know that Rachel's very excited about this.
Yeah, I am.
Let me start by saying I get her excitement, but I am not a convert to what she's going to be discussing. Okay. Mainly because I mean, it might change my life. You seem to think that it will.
Yeah.
But currently, like, I'm fine with the whole routine with the tampons and the...
So what do you use?
I use tampons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you use any other products?
No.
Okay.
No. And, like, change it every 8 hours, you're good to go.
When did you start using tampons?
Oh, jeez. Probably when I was, like, 15, maybe 16.
When did you get your period?
13?
Okay.
12?
So you use pads kind of until
yeah.
then. Okay.
And that was, like, I remember middle school gym class.
Ugh.
Awful. And I played a lot of sports, and I was like,
did.
am I leaking? Am I, like, constantly asking my girlfriends and, like, being like, sir, because we had a male gym teacher. Bunch of fucking, anyway. Sir, can I go to the bathroom? He'd be like, why? I'd be like,
lady issue.
Lady problem.
Yeah.
And he'd shut her and let us go. That being said, Rachel, what do you use?
Okay, well, let me start out by saying I got my period real young.
Okay.
I was 10.
Damn.
Yeah, so I was in 4th grade, and I was really traumatized. I remember getting it on a day where my mom was at work and my dad was at home. And I was up until then I was super excited about getting my period.
And
I wanted
being
to be
a
a
woman.
Yeah, and like not gonna lie, I used to wear my mom's like maxi pads, like a
just
fresh
for
one,
yeah.
just for fun, because I was like, oh, I have my period.
Take a little red marker, color on it. You didn't go that far. Okay.
No. But I was stoked, to say the least, to get my period and be a woman, and then I got it and thought it was like the grossest shit that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Because I was 10, I was still a kid. So I used pads, not for a very long time. I started using tampons in like grade 5, like
so like a
shortly
year.
after.
Yeah.
And I used tampons all the way up until I turned 25.
Okay.
Yeah. So do the math. I don't know, 15, 14 years.
Yeah.
And had enough. Because I am, this could be TMI, but I am a super heavy bleeder.
Whereas I am not.
Yeah. So I was the kind of person who would go through a super jumbo tampon in 30 minutes.
Wow.
On day 2. Day 2 is usually my heaviest day, most people's heaviest day. And so that kind of like me traveling and being in school and you know, having multiple jobs, it was like,
it interferes with your life.
Exactly. It was interrupting my daily living, my functioning. And so I had heard about a Diva cup.
Okay.
Or a menstrual cup.
Mm-hmm.
From the internet. And I was like, God, that's disgusting. How can they like finger themselves and put this like cup up there, and isn't it so messy and disgusting, and they have blood all over their hands, and that's the worst because I'm usually, again, out, you know,
in public bathrooms.
I live, you know, most of my bathroom time is spent in public bathrooms, which I have an issue with, but that's a whole other thing. So it's like, how can I ever make that work? And then I don't know what compelled me to try it, but I did. I think I was home because I'm really super regular, thankfully. But so I was home while I had my period, and so I went out to the Shoppers and I bought a Diva cup. Tried it.
Were you freaking out the first time? Or were you just like, I gotta try this because I can't live my life with tampons?
I think both. I think I was definitely motivated by the fact that like I had had enough with the garbage and the money spent on
Amen, sister.
tampons. And so, but then also I was freaked out because there's a specific way that you're supposed to fold it in order to stick it inside of you. And that's nerve-wracking because it creates a seal. And
right.
if you don't have that seal, then like
leaks.
Hello, leak city. Exactly.
Ooh.
So I tried it. And it took me, I won't lie, it took me about 2 cycles to get the hang of it.
Okay.
Best decision ever.
Really?
Yeah.
Even when you're using public bathrooms, because I
Here's
feel
the
like when
thing.
you take it out, you have to like dump it and rinse it and like.
Okay, so in the perfect setting when you're at home,
Oh, that would be a breeze.
which is fine, what you do is you take it out. And first of all, let me just say, when you actually take it out, there's no blood because everything's been caught in the cup.
Right.
So you're not dealing with blood, and the blood that is inside the cup, like, it's different because it hasn't had time to be exposed to air. So there's no smell. It's like super viscous.
Okay.
So it doesn't stay inside the cup and like spill everywhere. Like
Right.
it's really thick and viscous. So you just plop it into the I was gonna say sink. Jesus. No, you plop it into the toilet and you flush it, and it's pretty much all gone from the cup. And so when you're at home, you can then wash it with the solution, and then reinsert.
Okay.
And the first couple times I had to use lube because I was sort of trying to figure out,
Right.
and it was uncomfortable and whatever. Now I don't. I'm fucking.
You're a pro.
Yeah, exactly. I don't need lube. Get myself ready. But so now. So, okay, that's the perfect scenario, and then you wipe yourself, you're good to go. When I'm out in public, and I'm in a stall that doesn't have, like, a sink or anywhere to wash your hands, which happens, I take it out. First of all, I get inside the stall, I get into the bathroom, wash my hands, and then I go into the stall, and then I take hand sanitizer.
Oh,
because I've locked the door, and I've touched the bathroom door. So I sanitize my hands, and then I take it out, dump it, and then I just take toilet paper and just get the little edges. It's fine.
Okay.
And then I fold it back up, stick it up, and then I have wet wipes with me at all times. So then I wet wipe my hands, and then wet wipe myself.
Because who doesn't like to be clean?
Exactly. And then I'll use hand sanitizer again because I'm about to unlock the door, and I'm courteous. I don't want anyone getting my lady juice all over the door. And then I wash my hands.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's
so you don't have to like completely wash it every single time.
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, in terms of like upkeep and making sure it's like, sanitary, it should be washed every 24 hours.
Okay.
But I have somewhere to sleep, right? So like I have somewhere to properly wash it.
And how long can you leave it in for? Because I know, like, with tampons, there's risk of toxic shock syndrome and all this and that.
Yeah, so it's completely safe to put inside your body and leave for, I'm sure not forever, but... Is
it silicone?
Yeah, it's silicone.
Oh, okay.
So it's more or less inert.
Body safe, yeah.
It's body safe. So you can leave it up. I mean, the longer you leave it up there, it's still collecting shit, so it'll probably get a little nasty. But in terms of, like, the actual material, it's completely safe. I tend to put my cup in, because I am so regular, I'll put it in a couple days before I get my period, and because there's really nothing collecting up there, I'll wash it and take it out once a day.
Yeah.
So once every 24 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, yeah, like, I'm curious, like, I don't have a very heavy flow, so if I used it, like, I feel like I would not need to change it that often.
Yeah, so going back to my day 2, my heaviest day,
right.
So previously it was tampons Super Plus every 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It then changed to changing my cup every 5 hours.
Wow.
Which is fucking phenomenal. Compared
you
to
can sit through an entire lecture or a lab and, like, you're good to go.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have to worry about leaving. And then every other day of my period, it's usually twice a day to once a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are all the pros. Have you found any cons?
Cons are, I mean, it is extra work to have to go and, like, dump it out.
Dump and rinse and...
Yeah.
Even the cleaning every day.
But, like, the pros so far outweigh the cons because of how frequently I'm changing my Diva cup. God, yeah. I can't even...
And you can't, like, how much is it to buy outright?
So it costs, I think, somewhere around $30.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's
one-time purchase.
Wow.
Yeah. There are 2 models right now, one before you have kids and one after. So after I have kids, I'll buy the second model.
Right.
But that's all that I've spent.
Wow.
On my period.
And you would buy $30 worth of tampons in, like...
Oh.
Easily
a cycle.
Easily.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. This is my thing. Like, I'm content. Like, me having my period doesn't really bother me. The worst part of my period is the friggin' cramps and, like, the headaches that I get.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I crave a lot of food, but that's my everyday. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll try it in the future. I'm not opposed to it. I don't think it's gross. Like, I think it's actually a pretty ingenious idea.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't affect my life really.
Yeah.
If I had a heavy flow and I was, I need a new tampon every half hour, then for sure I'd be like, give it to me. But I think I might where I'm at.
I mean, the money. It's seriously, and like, how it's bullshit that we have to spend so much money on taking care of something that happens to us every single month.
Yeah.
That happens to 50% of the fucking population.
Yeah.
And I think menstrual cups themselves, it doesn't have to be the Diva brand, but I think they're great for people who have poor access to water.
Yeah.
I think they definitely need to be promoted and shipped and produced everywhere, all over the world.
And you kind of also brought up the whole environmental impact. Like you said, you were sick of the garbage, and
Yeah.
like, I can understand that.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, okay, I grew up using cardboard applicators.
Me too.
So not a huge.
But then I got older and I was like, I really
prefer the plastic.
Yeah, Gucci. My Gucci deserves it.
Give me some of that Tampax Pearl.
Exactly.
Glad so nice.
But it's so much plastic.
Yeah, it's pretty bad for our environment, and like the world's going to shit right now.
Yeah, exactly.
# climate change is real.
Well, on that note, I think we're gonna end it here.
Cool.
Of part 1.
Cool.
Because it's getting a little long. So thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks guys.
And we hope you stick around. Part 2 should be out soon. And
yeah.
Stay cool.
Stay cool. Stay rad.
Okay.
JB, I love you.